This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
Thanks for tuning in to Power Athlete Radio. This week, our buddies and partners from Train Heroic stopped by the Power Athlete headquarters and discussed the business of making athletes. When we teamed up with Train Heroic, Field Strong was just hitting the scene, and Grindstone was a twinkle in the eye of Power Athlete. Eventually, we were able to collaborate with these innovative entrepreneurs and create an all-inclusive platform that would take performance tracking to a new level. In this episode, there's discussion of some of the best, most exclusive gyms in the country to the struggling 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. coach/owner/operator. The intangibles of an ideal training setting can be summed up with a frequently expressed Power Athlete sentiment, and that is manage the experience. Regardless of programming, specialty courses, immaculate equipment, or eye candy for coaches, retention comes down to how well a coach interacts with their athletes. Learn how to achieve this and bring your business to new heights with the guys from Train Heroic right now on Power Athlete Radio. This is episode 146.
Power Athlete Nation, what is up? Luke here, Texas on the other end in DC. Denny K is on the line in the Midwest in Chicago, but he literally just had clients walk in the gym and is giving a facility tour. On our world, what do we call this? World class? World
headquarters?
No, we're like a world-renowned strength and conditioning. The world-renowned strength and conditioning podcast, Power Athlete Radio, is happy to have with us the guys from Train Heroic, our partners in crime here. I got Colby and Ben from Train Heroic. They're in Orange County at headquarters here with us, and we're just jumping on podcast to wrap. So what's going on, guys?
Just happy to be here.
Yeah, soaking in the sun.
Yeah, burning up in the sun. Pasty white skin of ours, Colorado.
Be cooked rare by the end of the day.
Yeah, so we have no show outline. Actually, Tex, how long has it been since we've actually had a show outline for our guests?
What's a show outline?
Remember Denny used to write that shit and we'd never look at it, and then now he's just like secretly stopped writing them, and we didn't even notice until right now.
Oh, God, no. Well, what do we want to talk about? What do we want to wrap? What do we got?
Well, I think, we have a pretty interesting background in terms of Power Athlete and Train Heroic and how this whole thing kind of came together. And then even more so as I got to know Ben and Josh and the guys behind getting Train Heroic up and running, they have a pretty cool story. Or in my opinion, it's just a couple good old Midwestern boys grinding it out, shooting high, aiming high for a big product. And it's something that we bought into, and we're going wholesale with how we deliver our programming. So I don't know. I think, why don't we do this? So Ben, just give us a story about Train Heroic, where it started. I mean, all the stuff that we've talked about in the past.
Yeah, right on. So basically, Train Heroic as it exists today has probably been around for 2-ish years. Prior to that, it existed in a myriad of forms for another 2 years. So let's see, starting at the seedling stage, I used to be a high school coach and teacher. Out of that, I kind of really just developed an interest in human performance. I'd kind of been a performance junkie all along the way. Played college ball at the University of San Diego with my co-founder, Josh Sucher. And effectively, after teaching, was just kind of looking for a way to bring world-class strength and conditioning down to, at first, just the high school level. Make scaling my job much easier, and the only conduit I saw that to be possible through was technology. In total candor, I didn't know 2 shits about technology at the time, but just kind of dove headlong into it. Was kind of coaching and helping manage a strength conditioning / CrossFit gym out of Chicago, River North CrossFit and strength conditioning. Was doing that from 4 a.m. until noon every day, running home and kind of doing the startup thing, trying to bootstrap this thing together. And I think the next evolution that makes sense is as we were hacking together some super shitty technology and just kind of MVP proof of concept for what we were doing, a lot of the center of our product was kind of the content. The content we were delivering. So we were using some different coaches that were already in our network, some guys that I think even overlap with the Power Athlete Network. And the hilarious part about, I think, the introduction and how we finally got acquainted with you guys was we had a program that we were delivering to high school kids around the country called the Power Athlete Program. The Power Athlete Program.
Yeah.
And this was kind of at the time where you guys might have just been CrossFit football, and Power Athlete was this little baby that nobody really knew or cared about.
No.
But at the time, so the programming was core to what we were doing. We were delivering our own programming as Train Heroic, and the technology was almost secondary. And then we quickly realized we're not the experts at the programming. We knew it was essential to our audience, which at the time was just kind of high school kids. But we knew that was not who we were.
Yeah.
And we had to define who we were and figure out, let's stay in our lane. Let's do what we do best. And we knew we had a great vision for product. We had a great direction for that. We had some good people in our network. And so how we got involved with Power Athlete was the very first time was John Wellborn sent me a nice cease and desist letter that told me to basically fuck off and die. And so we had to quickly, I got that. I'm literally reading this thing in my inbox and shuddering. I'm like, I know how big this dude is, and that's scary. And I think we're gonna get sued. I don't know how businesses work. This is terrible.
That's awesome.
And so, I mean, at that time, we quickly were like, all right, we need to rename that program. Let's start there. And then secondarily, let's get out of this thing. Let's focus on doing what we do.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that because I don't know if everyone does this or it's just me being a fucking paranoid product of the X-Files, right? But I spider, I search every day and have summaries delivered on, our trademarks, on our taglines and shit like that to see if there's any infringement and shit. So when I think it was you and Stefan Roche at USD dropped a video for Power Athlete training or some shit like that, and it was like a week after we did a cert. Timeline's not necessarily accurate, but it's directional. After we did a cert at Stefan's gym and talked about forging powerful athletes and the Power Athlete program and shit, and I'm like, and that was the first time I met Stefan, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm like, Wellborn, you got to see this shit. And he's like, what the fuck? And it was, so, you get the big guy fired up, and he's quick to jump in and copy all the lawyers. And, oddly enough, it's a shame Denny is still giving that gym tour because that's how this podcast started, was me, Denny, and Platic decided to record a podcast when I was in Seattle at a seminar during a lunch break. And just to see how it was. And those guys were so fucking excited that we got this thing done and they got to be a part of it, And I'm like, all right, good, right on. Let's get it going, and let's reconnect on next steps. Well, these fucking guys posted it on the CrossFit Football comments as the Power Athlete podcast, right? Nice. And John listens to the first 10 seconds, which is just Steve and Denny saying, hey, this is the Power Athlete podcast, we're excited, doesn't hear me on the podcast at all.
These other guys.
Yeah, and he's fucking, SOSing me at the cert, and you don't have your phone on at the cert, you're out there with 40 people doing your thing. And he's like, what the fuck is this shit? Ding, 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 ding. And then all of a sudden, as the cert ends, I have 20 messages from Denny, 20 from Platic, 20 from John that are nobody knows what the fuck's going on, because John sent a very similar
friendly fire, man.
I'm ready to come devour your soul type of email. And
is that pretty prevalent? Do you find that people are kind of playing off the Power Athlete brand and trying to do their own thing with it, or?
There are a couple guys that are, and it's just how big of a fight do we want to bring? There's a guy out of Ohio, there's a guy in France or something, and they don't really rank too high if you search Power Athlete,
Would you say this conversation right now is a shout out to them or a threat to them?
I would say
we're watching.
I would sleep with one eye open because
I know about
we have a very special set of skills.
You're listening,
right? But I guess going back to our second encounter was at Tex, John, and I were at the
Well,
Texas.
how did that resolve? Like what?
Oh, they just changed it to like explosive athlete or some fucking uncreative bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, what is a derivation here that power has more syllables and sounds more complex and cooler than fucking power athlete? So, kaboom. There we are. Yeah, so next time we meet, those three, Texas high school coaches convention or something, they're there with no plan whatsoever. We're there with all sorts of plans. Kind of have a vendor booth doing the thing, and pop by their thing, and I'm like, hey, we should actually take your content and put it in our system so that we don't have to be enemies, we can be frenemies. And I think that was the seedling for what became kind of a successful relationship. You know, it was after that, we're not sure, we want to have more control over this thing, the technology is not quite there yet. But I think what we saw was, hey, here are some guys that are on the cutting edge, always pushing the envelope of not only how training, programming methodologies go, but, you know, what about content delivery? How do we make sure that we're giving people the best experience possible? And for us, those were all the things that we sought to do as well. We knew we could make personal investments, financial investments to deliver that stuff, but we also knew we needed to have a partner who kind of shared that vision. And when you're developing technology and really trying to change the game in something, you need people who see that same way. And you need people who are willing to take some chances, willing to take some risks. And I think that's what's been uniquely successful is having early adopters who not only are willing to go through some of those growing pains, but early adopters who can help you shape something to support their communities and their audiences. And we've been very fortunate not only to have Power Athlete, but brands like Cal Strength and Dr. CrossFit, Dusty Highland, numerous weightlifters, powerlifters, whatever, to help us kind of make that leap. And I mean, literally take a product that was really rickety and now make it something that's pretty solid and into something that within the next 12 months is going to be world class. It's going to be awesome.
For sure. I mean, at the time, we were, you know, like we were maybe 2 years, 3 years behind, I guess, the learning curve that you and Josh were hitting when you were just hacking shit together. Like, dude, our website was so bad, like on the back end side of it. And, you know, there's probably people out here that followed Field Strong from the inception, and they're like, oh, what's the good old days? I like to print off the blog posts. But what these fucking guys don't realize is, like, it was a 40-hour work week just to keep people from getting double charged, to make sure shit wasn't disappearing. Like, it was not very stable, not very secure, and it was a fucking battle for me on the back end. And, like, what am I doing trying to pretend to be a network administrator? Sure. You know, like, and that's where you sold me, and then John wasn't that sold, but you're like, you know, and then we have another guy that helps us out on some of the tech side. He's like, do you guys want to be a technology company, or do you want to be a fucking, like, a strength and conditioning company? And I'm like, I don't want to be a fucking network administrator. And it was just like a no-brainer for us. And that's what allowed us to fucking launch Jack Street. That's what allowed us to launch Grindstone, our basics program, and all the other shit allows us to scale incrementally because I don't have to fucking manage.
Well, that's what technology should do, right? It should, as a coach, it should make your life easier, right? And there's a learning process with that on our end, especially, right? Like doing these trips, connecting with coaches, running classes, and figuring out what are those big problems that we set out to solve. And so for this situation, it's able to free you guys up to coach, to research, and just to be better coaches, and not be a network administrator and like running payments,
running billing. Like, I mean, for coaches who are out there and listening, I think there's so much value to entering the online space, to try to extend yourself virtually, to add ancillary revenue streams. But what you're not thinking about are all of the myriad of problems that go associated with that. What does the customer service look like? What is your billing? How consistent is your user experience? Where are people actually getting this content? How are they consuming it? How are they interacting with community? What's your retention look like? Thousands of problems, you know. And so I think where we come in, we're all kind of like, I guess we're a technology company, but we're all kind of people that intrinsically don't like technology in so many different ways. And I think fundamentally, in so many ways, technology has kind of parsed society apart. It's kind of brought people away from one another, and I think our idea, you know, that's why we say we connect coaches to athletes anytime, anywhere. We believe in the coach. We're a coach-first platform, but we believe in connecting people and bringing people together. So whether that's in real time in the gym or whether that's on the internet, We want to make sure that connection is really easy, it's really powerful, and there's actually something there. Don't use technology for technology's sake. Use technology because it makes that experience better in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's where it starts to really make sense.
Yeah, for sure, man. And then how's everything going on the implementation on the, let's say, CrossFit or micro gym side? Like, what's the status for that? I know because we use it selfishly just as our broadcast stream, but there's a whole other side of this fucking thing that we don't tap into.
Yeah, I think so. For us, we serve what we call kind of 3 different audiences. So we look at our athlete. We call those people performers. Those people are consuming content and then delivering, doing something with said content. We look at what we call creators. That would be yourself, John, anybody who wants to create content, publish that content, and reach a larger audience. So typically the most thought-leading people in the market, most influential people, maybe a big online audience already and you're just trying to monetize it. Maybe you just got great ideas and you want to get them out there. And then the third person, and that's the one that you're mentioning, is really what we call instructors. And those are people who maybe either want to build their own content, not sell it, but just give it directly to their athletes who are in front of them. It could be a high school coach, college coach, CrossFit gym owner, whatever, weightlifting gym, performance studio. Or it could be something who, I'm an instructor, I have no interest whatsoever in programming. We get so many of these coaches who realized, hey, I opened this gym, I'm trying to scale this thing, but I'm spending 20 freaking hours writing programs that I'm probably in over my head on. I would rather outsource that thing for maybe $100 a month, find a coach in our marketplace, get that content to automatically show up, get it to my athletes anytime, anywhere. I want to spend my time doing the things I love, which is growing this business, the small business I run, which is giving my athletes a great experience that's both motivational, inspirational, and instructional. And then I think working on kind of quality of movement and watching the things that only you in the gym coach can deliver. Technology can never substitute for that.
Right.
Our dream is never that either. We're not trying to become like an Uber that fundamentally is going to replace drivers with automated cars. We're not trying to make automated coaching. We're trying to give you tools so that the live coach can have a better experience.
I'm meeting, sorry to jump in, guys, but I'm meeting more and more of these coaches who are either just, they want to focus on managing the gym, and they take the CrossFit football seminar, and then they default to us to take care of their programming. Whether it's the basics, if they're teaching high school athletes, or if they're going all in with Field Strong and their programming. So I definitely discuss the programming kind of on the back end once they are looking for how to implement the warm-ups. I used Train Heroic as an example for the implementation. And this past weekend at the Katy, Texas seminar, we had a University of Texas Permian Basin soccer coach, and so they're going all in with the Field Strong program. So it's a great outlet for us to reach more athletes and just the ease of now even sport coaches implementing strength and conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that from a scaling perspective at that level too, you have people who just acknowledge they're not a domain expert in a certain realm. You might even have a CrossFit coach who's like, hey, I want to add an ancillary service to my gym. I love CrossFit. I'll write the CrossFit programming. I'm going to manage that one program. But I realize now, and so many gyms are actually starting to realize this, hey, just having one program does not actually go for everybody's needs. Mm-hmm. Some people come into CrossFit as almost like a gateway drug. They realize, holy shit, this is a multi-domain sport, and I really like just the weightlifting portion.
Yeah.
I now need to add a weightlifting class for
Barbell one.
10% that really just want to do weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to do the conditioning work. They don't want to do the skill work. They just want to focus on their barbell work. Conversely, you might have somebody who's like, holy shit, I came into CrossFit, I do handstand walks, and I do muscle ups, and I'm just into gymnastics. I'm just into some of this skill stuff. So, having multiple offerings that maybe you don't have to write, but you can actually provision to your athletes is something that can actually add revenue to your gym, right? Because it becomes a retention tool.
I would argue it's just far too competitive nowadays not to do that.
Not to do it.
Not to do it, right? Like if you're trying to compete with the box down the street on price, that's like the worst thing you could do, Absolutely. Right? You're going to be out of business. You're going to hate your life. It's going to be miserable. If you're trying to compete, with better coaches, that's probably a pretty good strategy. Another one is just through offering more programs to those, to your members and to the community to really kind of differentiate and set yourself apart from anybody else kind of in that local area. And so this just goes back to like, what is technology? What should it be used for? And in my mind, like as a coach, technology should make my life easier so I can free up time, mental capacity to focus on coaching and serving my athletes in a better way. And so, Ben raises a great point that if you're not, there's so many things about CrossFit that you can, try to kind of position yourself and be an expert in weightlifting, gymnastics, endurance, all that skill work type stuff. But why do that if you're running a gym and there's other experts that you can connect with instantly to do that same exact thing?
Well, the only way you can scale is to actually start to distribute the load.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to just try to run Train Heroic by myself, which I did for 3 terrible, bone-crushing years, you're not going to have a great product. You're not going to be doing something awesome.
Yeah, you become your own limiting factor. Right?
Not only do you become your own limiting factor, you become your customer's limiting factor. You're not giving them what they fucking deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think an acknowledgement of every stakeholder that's participating in your gym, all the way from potentially your investor down to you as the owner, to your coaches as the implementers, and to your customers as the people who are coming in and paying you good, hard-earned dollars, you owe it to them to make sure they're getting the best at what they do. And so if I was using myself as designer, marketer, putting out content, writing, actually being a programmer, we got a catastrophe on our hands. But the reason we can scale, the reason we can be successful is we make sure I'm just hiring people who are better than me at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I'm going to go get a Matt Slaughter who can be the world-class designer. I'm going to go get an Aaron Crowley who can be the best coder around. Those people are going to allow us to put out a better product for people. And the reason you do that is for your customers. At the end of the day.
So I want to jump back to, we were talking about differentiating. If you're a gym owner in a populated area, how do you differentiate that yourself from a guy down the street? I was talking to you guys earlier about, if I could do it all over again, and it was Southern California, you got fucking 25 boxes in 10-mile radius. Like, I truly believe for the peace of mind of being a small business owner and still being able to retain your passion for coaching and your enthusiasm for training, because once you open a box and you try to go 150, 200 plus members, it becomes a business. You don't want to fucking train. And those that do, like, I applaud you. You have a much more, you're much more passionate about the
I would say that's
training.
The exception for sure.
Right. But I'm like, you got to go fucking 30, 40 person, 30 to 40 clients, maybe 5,000 square feet. And I'm telling these guys about, like, maybe charge double the going rate. And you guys fucking tell me about Glazier and Urlacher's place. And I don't know if you mind sharing, like, your experience, because you were just up there, right?
Yeah, not at all. So we were just at Unbreakable Performance. Cool facility if anybody wants to check it out. It's actually on the Sunset Strip right behind the Pink Taco. So a place where you can
How can you not laugh every time you hear that?
There is a high-performance facility where I used to get drunk when I was 19 with a fake ID.
Yeah.
And so, that in and of itself blows me away. But I think what's cool about what Glaze is doing is where everybody else is kind of zigging, he's zagging.
Yeah.
Where everybody else is racing to the bottom on pricing, he's charging through the nose, in excess of $2,000 a month. But what he's doing is he's saying, hey, who do I want to attract? Well, I want to, they attract the best of the best. They attract everybody from Odell Beckham, Alshon Jeffrey, down to The Rock, to Terry Crews, to hedge fund managers, to big-time names. And what they're doing is, hey, we want to bring kind of this center of excellence. We want to make sure we have the right people in this gym. We want to make sure they have the right experience. How they make sure that happens is they price everybody else out.
Yeah.
And it makes it so it's an environment they themselves as business owners want to be in every day. It makes it something that actually can scale and be profitable. And it makes it something that the members themselves want, because those high-end clients want to be around high-end clients. If you want lower-end clients, you'll get lower-end clients. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, provide the service that they want. But I think they also end up dealing with fewer problems from a customer service perspective because the people they're targeting, frankly, the money they lose, like it's not going to hurt them.
And this facility is not like you don't fucking walk in and there's not someone scrubbing your feet.
No,
right?
Like not even.
I mean, it's like it's still that cool, gritty kind of garage gym.
Team training, working out in a group of 5. Everybody's doing the same workout. What Glazier always talks about is, hey, we want to create a locker room atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So, he made a joke because P. Diddy actually goes there. And he's like, when P. Diddy comes in, he's not P. Diddy, he's Puss Diddy. And he's like, again, zig when others are zagging. He's he's like, these celebrities, their entire life is people kissing their ass.
And then in here, they just get beat down.
And so he's like, so what do? We beat them down. We make sure that they feel just like a human like they used to, and it returns them to their roots in the time when they were most excited in life. And that's why those people are willing to pay money. That's why those people are willing to show up. That's why those people are willing to bring their friends and build their network there, because it is truly a different experience from everything they understand. And I think if you look at the CrossFit model, the CrossFit gym, for so many people, it's that same deal. Why was CrossFit successful? It was something that was completely different at a time where people needed that. It was a time where, hey, everything was going in this global gym direction, all the services under the sun, all the mirrors, all the stuff. And it's like, let's strip it down. Let's make it basic. Let's make it raw. Let's make it rugged. Let's make it hurt. And people are willing to pay extra money for less.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same deal, taking, Glazer's taking it to 5 more steps that, hey, let's charge 10 times and let's give half.
Yeah, right.
And it works out because it's also just more sustainable for the business owner, because there's a certain point where you can't give more. And you have to just make sure you're being selective with the clients you're taking on. And there's ways to go about that. And I guess in their case, price is the way to.
And I mean, let's be honest, that's a pretty unique situation, right? With that network and that connection. And so like, I would say that like a real world takeaway for, those coaches and owners listening is to like literally map out those gyms in your area, do some research, get the pricing, and charge 20 to 30% more, like right off the bat. If you can live up to that standard, you're going to have better clients. You're going to have a happier life. You're going to make more money. It's going to be great, because the truth is there's always room at the top. And I would say that within your 10, 15 mile radius, those prices are fairly similar, within 5%, 10%, right? Yeah. Why is everybody fighting at that price point when you could just be the guy to stand out at the top, right? I think I heard this like Tim Ferriss podcast or something. Like, there's always room at the top. People want to compete for the low-hanging fruit, but there's nobody up top competing for that stuff.
But it's value-based in the sense that, that was my world before banging weights for a living was pricing, and you have to determine what items within a gym yield a value to your customers. And a lot of times, in my personal opinion, I think it's fucking coach. We've been to a lot of gyms and we've met a lot of coaches. That text jumped off the fucking horn. But we just had a whole podcast about like the best and worst of traveling for seminars. And let me tell you, like, listen, at the risk of offending a lot of people who've probably been to the CrossFit football fucking seminar, there's a lot of fucking jackasses. Yeah. Like, they're in trying to get people to intern for us. People do not know how to manage the experience. Anyone can tell you sets and reps and weights. Anyone can babysit you and watch form. But how many people can deliver an experience day in and day out that gets you enthusiastic about training, even on your worst day? And I think that's how an individual could differentiate themselves, but you're not going to have that. You're not going to provide that value item until somebody actually walks through your door. Right. And that's why I think, that's one of my gifts, is just fucking being able to beat a dead horse and put on a show day in and day out. It's fucking Groundhog Day, and I love it. Right. And that's where I think I could really differentiate myself. And I know others like me could differentiate themselves as a gym owner or a head coach or whatever, and say, hey, this is going to be fucking the best time of your life. I'm going to get you off. You know what? You're going to have to pay for it. So that's why my membership's $400. You want to go to the other guy down the street? Fuck it. I don't need you. I only want 30, 40 people in my gym anyways that want it. Because one of the most frustrating things becomes when you want it more than your athlete does.
Power Athlete Nation, we are interrupting your regular programming to bring you the launch of Form Collar. We've worked with the team from Form Lifting to develop what we believe is one of the most essential training aids for any coach or athlete. The device attaches to the barbell like any other collar and measures force, speed, acceleration, and power, and sends this info to your smartphone instantaneously as you train. Yes, there's an app for that. Unlike any other wearables we've tested, the metrics provided are accurate and meaningful, and provide yet another layer to your training that will help drive more effective power, strength, and speed adaptations. Having instantaneous access to info like this during your training is a pure game changer. Make sure you guys head over to pahq.co/formlift. That's capital FORM, capital LIFT, for more information on how you can get your Form Collar. Now back to the show.
So, I mean, what are some things to to do, right? Like, I mean, it's just a grind sometimes, you just push through it. So, you know what, this is what I committed to. I have to do this.
In terms of what? In terms of
just being that coach, right? Like delivering that experience day in, day out. Because I mean, the listening, you're at the gym at 5 a.m. Sometimes you don't leave till 9 o'clock at night that night, and you didn't even work out that day, right? It's just miserable.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think you have to have the right client base. If you have clients that are willing to die for the cause, then you're willing to die for the client, right? And that's what I think the price point also becomes kind of a self-weeding garden in the sense that the weeds ultimately fizzle out because you don't create a connection, right? And again, spitting out Tex's words, the athlete coach connection is a priceless commodity. So if you have the ability, and we have a whole blog series on creating a connection with you and your athletes, if you have the ability to create the connection, show your athlete that you can take them to a place they can't take themselves, then you're set. Like, what's the secret recipe? It's creativity, man. You got to figure out how to read people. If you're not a people person, then this model isn't for you. But I think what also comes along with that personality is like not a relatively polished facility, not necessarily like your Equinoxes or anything like that, but it should be a place that people are excited to be in and like not, don't tiptoe around as well.
Right.
So
not a total shithole.
But I think the lesson too that you're talking about is, so much of, I feel like where the CrossFit business education that's happening right now is all about systemization. It's all about almost creating an exit strategy, not an exit strategy in terms of, I guess in the startup world, people always talk about exit strategy. When are you going to exit? What are you going to do? Are you going to sell this thing? And it's like, your exit strategy as a business owner shouldn't be, how can I sell this thing? How can I build a product that's sellable? Sure, that's nice. How can you, I think right now the conversation is how can you actually build systems that you can take yourself out of it and the thing keeps running. That's great. Don't get me wrong. But I think part of your system that gets left out of the equation is how are you building creativity into your system every day so it doesn't become fucking sterile and intolerable and vanilla. Because I can tell you if innovation stops, it's boring for the customer, period. And you shouldn't say, okay, good. I think people where they're broken from a mindset perspective, so often we seek out to say, how can I do stuff now so that I can just kind of coast?
Yeah.
And from a creativity standpoint, creativity takes a tremendous amount of energy. So rather than looking at it and saying, "Wow, man, can I invest now to create some ideas that allow me to stop and finally have this period of rest?" Or let's take that mindset, let's go the opposite direction and say, why don't I actually just try to say creativity is always a part of this thing. I'm always going to have to apply a certain amount of effort to it. Let's actually instead start looking forward to that effort. Let's differentiate because we love creativity. Let's differentiate because we love coming up with new shit to do, rather than, let's differentiate because we have the one thing that's, it's totally different. And then, as soon as you do that, you're obsolete. Everybody's going to rip it off. Everybody's going to copy it. I think as a business ourselves, we pride ourselves on creativity and differentiate our feature set, differentiate our messaging, our content, all that kind of stuff, because we just care about our customers and we know they want fresh shit. The second we stop doing that, they should turn on us. But I think from our perspective, what's exciting about it is like they hold us accountable, but too, we look forward to that. If we were doing the same shit every day, we'd be bored.
Yeah, I think, Tex is a big quote guy. He should have just stayed on the fucking podcast. But
Tex.
I think it's Jerry Garcia said, I don't want to be the best at what I do. I want to be the only one doing what I'm doing. Yep. Right. And that's where even in our space, when we're looking at new programming or we're looking at putting together a series on YouTube and like it parallels, we're diving into this nutrition thing and like there are industry leaders out there, the RP strength templates and shit like that they have fucking a customer base. And it's like, well, what are they doing? And I always have to kind of pull us back and be like, who fucking cares? Yeah. Like, stay true to what we know. We don't have to fucking worry about those guys, but it's hard not to look over the fence and be like, what's going on over there? Right. But,
totally.
Yeah, man. So it's,
but here's the irony about that. Jerry's quote, you don't want to be the best at what you're doing. You want to be the only one doing it. By definition, if you're only the one doing it,
you're the best.
You are the best.
Yeah, that's right. You're also the fucking worst.
That's awesome. But nobody can tell you that.
I know, dude. Denny, are you hopped on back on? Oh, we lost him. what a hack.
All right, we're just rolling.
Yeah. So what else? I mean, what else you guys want to talk about? I mean, why don't we shift over, Colby, to some of your projects? I mean, you jumped on with the Train Heroic team, it sounds like just months ago, right?
Yeah, it's been 3 months now, early December. As we're shooting this, it is late February. So, yeah, it's been a little while. It's been great. So, I guess just a little background for you guys. I was a rugby player for a number of years. Played with the Glendale Raptors in Denver, Colorado, and that was my passion and my fuel for life. And while I was doing that, I was carving out a little career as a coach, and eventually worked into CrossFit. And that, as the story goes, totally kind of transformed my view of fitness and changed a whole lot of things about me as a person and about my life, and went head on into coaching CrossFit while I was playing rugby. And ended up coaching at CrossFit Verve in downtown Denver. That is Matt and Cherie Chan's old gym. They had sold the facility to a great group of owners now, and that gym continues to grow. And so, and while I was coaching there, Ben was one of the wackos who would come work out at 5 a.m. I'd be so jaded to wake up and coach those classes, but such is life. That's the way you go. And I had actually seen. I saw his name come through on the Mind Body on the iPad app, Ben Crookston. I was like, I know this name. So I just, did a little Google search, saw the app, and this was the first iteration of the platform. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Not there yet. Don't totally get it, but all right. Dude's in my class.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah. So it's cool. We became buddies, started working out. Both of us were former athletes and kind of had that connection going. And I would say that I've very much always been a business-minded coach first. And then an exercise-minded coach second, right? So I would lead with a marketing mind. How can we grow a gym? How can we retain more members? How can we reduce our costs? Stuff like that. But I just love the personal connection that you got in this industry. So anyways, over the duration of developing our relationship with Ben, my relationship with Ben, he was a guest on my podcast, the Strength and Performance podcast, and things continue to grow there, and position opened up with Train Heroic. As the company continues to grow, needed somebody to jump on and help out with marketing. And that's kind of the long and short of the past 5 or 6 years of my life. And it was funny. We were just yesterday, we were cruising around, right, dropping into all these gyms, Unbreakable Performance, Notre Dame High School with Coach Nick Garcia. Coach, if you're listening, that was an amazing experience. Really humbled by that. It was fantastic. And we even dropped into USC, strength and conditioning. And I'm just walking around just snapping photos like a total tourist, this is so amazing. And I was just joking with Ben. I was like, man, the trajectory of my life has changed so much just in the past few months. Just 2 years ago, I was out here at a fitness business conference here in Costa Mesa, right down the road, almost to the day, which is kind of weird. Really excited about learning about the whole fitness business side of things. CrossFit Open had just launched, so I was really stoked on that. But I just was looking at my calendar yesterday, and I realized wow, it's been a couple of years since I was here, and the direction has changed considerably. The trajectory has changed, and all that goes to say is that who you choose to surround yourself with, and what kind of positions you choose to put yourself in, difficult things. Typically you're going to lead to better things down the road. And so, it's just cool to be hanging out here at Power Athlete headquarters, finally get to meet you guys in person and meeting up with Unbreakable Performance and all that. It's been fantastic. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. And to Colby's credit, in terms of just who you surround yourself with, I think from a recruiting perspective, we only seek to find those people who like to make themselves miserable. And the only reason I was interested in Colby, apart from his marketing prowess, was he was a guy that I knew had been getting up at 3:45 in the morning, driving for 45 minutes to open this gym, to do the coaching thing, and then tried to started his own podcast on the side, was trying to get his own website off the ground. And what you find by kind of associating yourself with those people is, one, when you're working with them, they're team first people. They make shit way more fun. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to do more stuff with people who are going to work hard because they can tolerate it. And it's, anytime you're doing something challenging, if you're opening a gym, if you're starting a business, or if you're running a team, there's conflict. That's the only given, is that shit will go wrong. Mm-hmm. And by recruiting and sourcing people like Colby, and frankly, everybody on our team,
yep,
you're just guaranteeing that you have a band of idiots who is willing to put up with the stuff that's going to go wrong and who's going to go through the stuff. And you want people who are going to be there in a foxhole with you.
Right? Solutions oriented, man. That's like what we talk about. An analogy we give is, people come in with a problem and it's like, hey, just don't tell me it's fucking raining. Tell me where the umbrella is, type deal. Right. And that's hard to find for sure. And even in dealing with customer service side of things, which I still do. And we have a number of aliases via email that are actually just me or John. If you're getting kicked in the nuts by someone you've never heard of, it's probably John. Yeah. If you're getting a fucking over the pants hand job and you're like, wow, this is a great customer service experience, that's probably me. But it's like, people are so quick to focus on the fucking problem instead of, hey, just give me a solution. And I don't know if that's a short-sighted deal, but it does have to go along with like the suffering. It's like conflict crafts character, and it's almost, go the hard way. When there's a fork in the road and it looks fucking bumpy, I'm like, let's fucking I'll go loony bin with
all this traveling we've been doing lately. You kind of realize how society has been set up to not be hard, right? So like in the airports, there's you have your escalators, you have your walking, what's that thing?
Moving walkway,
right? And I mean, those things are always packed, right? So it's just like this little mental thing I do is like,
you charge those guys.
Take the stairs, right? Always take the stairs.
No, take the moving walkway the opposite way.
Take it the opposite way.
Really
now that's fucking baller.
Totally. But I mean, it's just, that just says something about a person's character. I think if you're willing to put yourself in those situations, here's something you guys could do. The 5-minute cold shower test. I think one of our guys, Josh Sucher, does this every morning, and it's great. Like, right when you wake up, jump in the shower as cold as it will go. 5 minutes. Don't move, just stay in that cold water. It's miserable, but the lesson learned there, two things. One, you already have won the day, right? If you can do that, you're starting the day with a really easy, simple win. The momentum gets going and you're crushing it right from the get-go. But you can also learn to be comfortable while you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's a skill. I mean, hands down. Some people are born with it. I certainly was not, right? I was growing up, being kind of soft and out of shape and really loved video games and Reese's, right? So much like most people do. And so that's a skill. Like if you can learn to put yourself in those situations, you will have zero trouble finding success in your life.
I would say not only is it a skill, it's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I would say just if you're not doing that today, do it. Your tolerance gets built up, and then eventually, not only does your tolerance get built up, but your taste gets built up. And you start to like that shit. You start to actually, want to be around more of it, want to be around people who are like that. I think the biggest lesson Josh and I always share, even from college playing for Jim Harbaugh, is Jim's notorious now for this famous at USD was not famous for anything because we weren't famous.
Right.
But, his favorite thing to say in the entire world is who's got it better than us? Who's got it better than us? And he, the number of times you hear that is almost like offensive and you don't even really think about it. But we're playing a small university. We play bigger schools. We play schools with nicer facilities, nicer whatever. And no matter what, it was just who's got it better than us. When Josh and I were starting this shit out and Josh is sleeping in the laundry room of my apartment with no bed, that was a choice.
Yeah.
The no bed thing was a choice. Just saying that all the time is shit's going down. Our server breaks. We don't even have any coders and our site crashes, whatever. It's who's got it better than us because we know those obstacles will ultimately yield a better result down the line. And, none of us are seeking a short-term exit from the deal. We do this shit because we love it. We do this shit because I actually can't imagine doing anything else. There's nothing cooler than working with passionate people, as a teacher and coach myself and who owes every ounce of success I've ever had to coaches and teachers, to be able to serve those people not to the fullest capacity and have a platform which elevates them and allows them to not make their jobs easier. I fucking hate that thing. I hate when people talk about like, let's make these jobs easier. Let's, leverage technology to do less. You start to get these visions of like Wall-E and these fat people, these blobs just like gelatinously floating around. And it's not about making shit easier. It's making shit better. It's making shit more powerful. What I love about Power Athlete is it's not perform faster, get, stronger, quicker. It's empower your performance. Make this shit richer. Make it more potent. Get more out of it. And I think, for us, I'm not going to sit here and say we make coaches' lives easier. Maybe we do, but sometimes we probably make them harder. Sometimes there's maybe a little bit more work that's required. But I can tell you your athlete's experience will be better because of it. I can tell you your life will be better because of it. I can tell you will connect with more people because of it. And I think that's what it's all about. Like, let's make stuff better. Let's make it more powerful. Let's stop worrying about making everything in life easier. And that acquired taste will suddenly start to form. Right. And I think that's probably the most exciting thing about what we do is like we're a hard work platform. We're a bunch of workaholics, not because it's like, I'm trying to make $500,000 a year and this is just where it's going. I'm a workaholic because I can't imagine doing anything except for waking up every day and trying to serve other people and build some shit that's going to matter.
Yeah.
What else am I going to do? Fucking sit there and watch.
How can you not get behind that? You know what I mean?
Watch the real world. Like, what am I going to do?
Right.
Like, I literally don't. I have no idea what I could fucking do that could be better than waking up and trying to make a difference. Because I don't know. And maybe some people are wired like that, but it's like, I think I acquired that taste because that's how my parents raised me. Maybe it's nature, maybe it's nurture, maybe it's both. I have no idea, but I think the more we start to build that into our society, the more we start to change things and just improve outcomes. And I think the best societies and centers of excellence, that's what they're doing. They're not out there trying to tell people it's going to be easy. Like, you want to sign up for this shitty thing? Ernest Shackleton on his voyage across Antarctica. What is this job post? Great men wanted. Shitty job.
Death
shitty
imminent.
pay.
Yeah.
Death imminent.
All right. That's
3,000 applicants. Here's a fucking mind blow. 3,000 applicants for that job post. This is pre-social media, pre-internet, pre-anything. To just pop that thing out and get anybody to sign up. But you saw that, like, he's saying, hey, does anybody want to do what I want to do? This thing that's awful? It turns out a lot of people want that experience because it's going to yield something pretty profound and pretty different. And to change the world, that's what it takes, is do awful shit.
That's pretty cut and dry, right? That's you're either in or you're out with that kind of wording. I love that. That. So I just posted on Instagram here, a little Q&A with some of our followers. Zach Evanesh asks, John's not here, unfortunately, but the three of us have ran facilities before.
Yeah, and here's a good thing. I actually am John Wellborn.
Nice.
John, I got hired like 4 years ago. John has been in like fucking Dominican Republic, and I've just been running via proxy. So,
yes. Awesome.
I can answer on his behalf.
So here we go. Zach Evanesh, thanks for the question, Zach. If John Wellborn was forced to open another gym, how would you do it this time around?
Easy. It would be, we've essentially done it. You would open it, you would fund it yourself, and it would be invite only. Without a doubt, that's what John would say. And it would basically be his gym, and you'd be allowed to train with him.
Are they paying money, or they're just friends?
Probably just friends, because as soon as you get money involved, then it gets complicated. But it wouldn't be a freebie either. It'd be like, you got to fucking earn it. And easy, like, there's basically a target on your ass to get kicked out at any second.
Nice.
Now, let's say he wanted to, fuck him. If he wanted to actually make like a business out of it and actually have a client base, God, I just don't think he ever would. But I would imagine it would be along Glacier's line. Glacier and Urlacher's deal is like, you'd have to raise the barrier of entry so people would actually have to want it, you know? And I don't think
I agree with that.
And I don't think it would be like a coach athlete relationship. It would be a training partner relationship, if that makes sense. Because I know he just doesn't have the patience to coach anymore, you know, unless an athlete actually comes in and shows promise. But the odds are we're not going to attract that type of athlete,
right.
You know?
What would you do, Ben?
What would I do?
Yeah. If you were forced to open up a gym, I mean, you ran River North CrossFit in Chicago for a number of years.
Yep.
What would you do different? Or was it just fine and you would continue?
They did a nice job. They were in a good business. What I would focus on, first and foremost, what Luke talked about, the coaching, you know, and I think it starts with, you got to be able to do it yourself, because then you know what to provide, what to scale, what to replace yourself on. You should always do a job yourself before you give it to other people to hand off. But I would probably say, you know, I'd open a gym that's in a solid location, specifically with the kind of people I'm trying to attract. You know, I personally like to be around high performers, so I'd figure out where those people are. I think selfishly, I like to focus also on kind of the high school world, just because that's my background and that's who I care about. That's who I'm passionate about. And so being in proxy to them would be a good deal. But, you know, in terms of running it, I think there needs to be an ecosystem that is a little bit virtuous. We were talking earlier about a system in which, hey, a lot of CrossFits, a lot of performance studios are kind of going this route. D1 Sports, one of our customers, manages this route, having a physical therapy right alongside.
Yeah, right on.
And not necessarily as, just, hey, let's boost some revenue by doing this, but it's like, you got to make sure that place is sustainable. If the place is training for performance truly, they're going to get nicked up. That just happens. And so I think under a lot of gym models, people end up having to take, you know, huge departures from the facility because they can't get maintenance, you know, basic daily maintenance on who they are.
But someone who's integrated to your training philosophy.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing that I would do fundamentally different from every CrossFit that I think every place should consider doing is, this comes from my teaching world, is differentiating the instruction. The thing that drives me absolutely insane is the fact that everything's completely uniform. It's not necessarily everybody shouldn't be on the same GPP program. That's great. The core of what you're doing is great. But having, you know, cranked through hundreds of members every day, and River North is a 500-member type gym, every person has their different little quirks because their bodies come to you not like athletes.
Right.
You know, I know you can call people athletes as many times as you want. That doesn't make them fucking athletes. They're still just accountants. They're still just whoever's. And if that's the case, they're going to have wonky shoulders, really poor posture, bad hips, and terrible ankles. I would differentiate starting by the warm-up. You know, our technology that makes that pretty easily, but I would create different programs. I would assign those programs to the athletes as they come in. I'd test those athletes, just run them through a basic. It doesn't have to be a FMS. It could be any movement screen in general.
Diagnostic.
You have limiting factors in your shoulders. You know, your hips really suck. You're sticky in your ankles, whatever. I'd give them that basic piece of information. I'd say, here's your warm-up protocol. I'd have those templates pre-written in our system, and I just prescribe those onto that person's individual calendar. Done deal. You know, done deal. The first 10 minutes of class, everybody's warming up independently. Why everybody has to do the same exact warm-up makes no sense. You know, you might have to foam roll somebody's upper back and loosen up their shoulders or whatever because that's who they are because they've been bench pressing too long. The other person might just be like, I literally can't get in a squat. Why are they doing the same exact warm-up? Why is the person who can't get in a squat rolling their back? You know, maybe, that could theoretically get them in a better position, but it probably can't. So let's make sure everybody has their individual warm-up. You know, I could still do that in the group environment. I could have 35 people warming up together, getting exactly what the fuck they need. But, you know, and then from there, let's go into some GPP, some good stuff, starting with probably 2 strength movements, not just like one thing, but like, let's actually get some real strength stuff going. And then we can layer that on with maybe some short conditioning, skill work, whatever, and rotate that stuff out. But I would not just like, hey, today's the strength day. Tomorrow we're going to kill you with a 65-minute Metcon where you're going to consider converting to a different religion. And then, you know, and then like in none of these things are you getting the things that are fundamental and foundational to like actually optimal health and performance, which is like, let's make sure we're getting enough accessory work in. Let's make sure we're taking care of our joints. And let's make sure we have, you know, exactly the protocol each of us needs.
Right.
It's very, very different. You know, I would differentiate the accessory work. I would differentiate the mobility work, the recovery work, and I would keep the GPP in the middle the exact same for. So
in your experience, how many different silos do you think you create in terms of athlete types? You know, like in terms of, because I know exactly what you're saying in terms, okay, so you have to target, certain groups of people have to target certain dysfunction, right?
Right.
So what would you say? I mean, based off your experience, do you have any idea?
Buckets of dysfunction, I would say I would break it out probably the way I described. I'd say hips.
Shoulders, hips.
Ankles. Ankles, I'd start there. Those would maybe be 3 buckets of dysfunction where I'd be talking about both the accessory piece and the mobility piece.
Because everybody needs rotation. Everybody needs isostability. Everybody needs, you know, so you just layer it on top of that.
And then like the GPP strength stuff, I think could be core for probably 80% of the population. The differentiated, I guess, programming would relate only, hey, do I need to truly be an athlete? Or do I want to be a specialist and maybe just do the barbell work, maybe just do whatever, and differentiate that stuff too. Frankly, I think CrossFit gyms and every other gym in between, I don't want to just limit this to CrossFits. Do yourself a favor, make your coach's job. And I could be the only CrossFit gym coach to ever say this. I don't think I am unique in this regard. Make your job tolerable and exciting by not making it Groundhog's Day and having everybody in the class doing the exact same thing all the time. Frankly, for any coach who's worth their salt, it's fun to be able to walk around and this person over here is snatching and that person over there is cleaning and this person over here is doing a single leg squat. Whatever. Don't care. I can walk around the room as a good coach and just differentiate that instruction.
Yeah, but you have what I like to refer to as coaching bandwidth. Yeah. The ability to observe that breadth, right? In the sense that, again, I deal with hundreds of coaches a year. Yep. You'd be amazed, man. Like, it's just, and I don't know if it's like, hey, bud, you shouldn't be a coach, or hey, bud, you need another 5 years. Like, I don't know how you scale or work your way through that progression to be able to manage that. But, we run across coaches, and even in our closest circles, who are like, our recommendation. So backing up, our recommendation, you have a client come in, they should start some sort of linear progression, right? While the clients you've had for 6 months, 2 years, 4 years should be on a different protocol. Sure. Everybody kind of meets for the GPP. Maybe there's variance there based off of orthopedic issues or, whatever. But there's variance in the class. I'm like, how do you manage all that? And it's like, you just fucking do it, but people are absolutely paralyzed by it. So
Cold Blast Coffee is Power Athlete's limited edition dark roast. It's a hardworking, true grit, kick in the door and fire up the machine coffee. Billowing with big, bold flavor, it kicks harder than John Wayne's horse, packs more punch than Bruce Lee, and if Chuck Norris ever approved a coffee, this would be it. We have proudly partnered with Caveman Coffee Co. to bring you this exclusive blend. Only 500 bags exist, so get it while you can at shop.powerathletehq.com. Now back to the show.
But the last two things I would throw in there that I think should be different is I think if you are running a group-oriented framework, which I would recommend because I think that's best for culture, it's best for community, it's best for competition and just making it fun and engaging, probably your retention problems, is I would say invert what I traditionally see. I see kind of your on-ramp foundation program to be run by the biggest newbie or knucklehead in the gym. And all you're doing is setting up athletes for a horrible experience.
Totally.
And a lot of issues.
That should be run by your own
bad retention issue, athletes getting hurt. But then I think the other part of that that foundation, fundamentals, basics, whatever you want to call this program, is I would make it requisite that it's test out. You simply do not pass go, do not collect $200, do not pay $200 in this case until it's proven that you can do the freaking basic movements.
Yeah, dude. So going into the team training environment, here's what I think, man. Like, I do think that there should be more PT style training, 1-2 person groups. Yep. And here's what you do. You accumulate an extraordinary league of coaches. Maybe it's 5 of them. And they all have their own PT clients. And then every week you have a team training throwdown. And it's like a battle of the fucking tribes, dude. Like, you got Ben's guys, Colby's guys, and Luke's guys, and they all fucking come in for the team training event. And it's just some fucking Metcon or WOD. But that's how you can kind of keep the fucking – I think that'd be – now, would it work? I don't know. But it sounds fun as fuck because then you have personal pride in your clients. They have their own small team framework. There's a competitive element within the gym, a grander league, if you will.
Right.
So
you're building in a lot of the engagement pieces that I think are somewhat embedded maybe seasonally. Maybe, it's the open stuff today. That's something everybody gets jazzed on. They look forward to it. Gym numbers always go up, and then kind of afterward they maybe start to take down midsummer, so forth. They really take down whatever. And I think it's like you can solve some of that by just building in naturally to your own cadence, having event-driven, goal-specific things. Whether it's, hey, we're gonna have a testing phase during a cycle, make it like a real strength and conditioning facility, like a college or a high school pro team, versus just like every day is just the WOD. Well, I think a thing that's broken in that capacity and in every training environment in the private sector that I've seen is there's not necessarily something that's truly event-driven. The people who are going to be most committed, who are going to pay the most money, who are going to stay the longest, have the true goal.
Right.
And where it gets off the rails quickly is, hey, I signed up for the gym and my goal is abs. Well, that's the theoretical goal of almost everybody. But let's take that step for instance. Why and what are you trying to do? Are you trying to run a marathon or a Tough Mudder or a thing like this? Are you trying to climb XYZ mountain? Are you just trying to make it so you can pick your fucking kids up and not blow your back out?
Right.
Whatever. Have a specific goal. Make sure it's measurable. And those people will stick around because the training becomes purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse than just showing up to work if you don't know why you're doing it. No different with your training. If I show up to train, but I don't know why the fuck I'm doing it, I'll be the poster boy for this.
But okay, go ahead, finish.
I'm just saying I'll be the poster boy. When I was playing football, I trained 35 times a week.
Yeah, right.
Why? Because I have a very clear reason why I'm doing it. Blow out the hip, and I'm like, I don't really play any sport competitively. I don't really do XYZ thing. My days of being a competitor on the weekends or whatever, those days have sailed. All soft excuses that I got to go find a new event, a new goal to train for. But the training then just disappears. Right. I have no reason to go out there and train. So it's like, okay, now I need to repurpose myself, redial myself. It's like, what is the goal? What am I actually doing? What's the event that I should go for? So it's like, sign up for a Spartan race. Oh, now I got shit on a calendar. Yep. Oh, now shit, I need to go start working out. And then it's not, I'm training to go get abs, but the abs might show up.
Yeah.
They're probably going to show up because they got to go do the real hard thing.
Going back to, what we were talking about earlier, Colby, is differentiating yourself, providing value. Now, a guy like you walks into my gym, I have to have the creativity to implant that in your brain, what you are training for, right? I couldn't, hundreds of clients I've dealt with. What are your goals? Oh, get in shape. Like, that's a bullshit goal in my mind. Like, how do you find something that's obtainable, measurable, repeatable type bullshit, But you have to, and you can't make it your idea. It has to be their idea. That's the creativity that I think a world-class coach, when dealing with general population specifically, because an athlete's real easy. I mean, I think, we were all very passionate, capable, hardworking athletes in our backgrounds. Like, if I was 18 years old and my strength coach said, hey, okay, here's what we're going to do today. Like, try to smash your head through this brick wall.
Yes, sir.
I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's fucking go. Yeah. And it's, you don't get that personality type when you're working with general pop. But
think about this. You just kind of asked that thing. You have somebody walk in the door. We'll call this person, quote unquote, a prospect. Hey, business owners, they're at the top of your funnel. Buzzwords, right? But this person walks in the door. And you say, what's your goal? What are you here for? And they say, I don't know, get in shape, whatever. It looks fun. What if you just tried this tact? What is your goal? And they're like, get in shape. That's not a goal. I need you to have a real goal and something you're actually training for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is. How about this? Come back in 24 hours. I want you to have that goal. And we'll talk about what you can do and what experience we can provide.
And how I can get you there.
How I can get you there. I promise you I can get you to your goal.
Anyone can get you in shape,
I need to know what that goal is. That person, two things happen. One, they don't come back. Guess what? They were going to fucking stay at your gym anyway.
Yeah.
That person was going to churn like crazy. They didn't know why they were there. They didn't know why you were special or what would make you deserve your top price.
Mm-hmm.
The person who comes back and they say, I got my goal, Luke. I just signed up for doing this adventure race. Never thought about it, but I'm going to do a 150-mile race. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, perfect. I can make that happen.
Perfect.
So, yeah,
I can work back from that date. I can write you the training program for that date, and I got the perfect group environment to get you fired up and keep you engaged along the way. What do you think? I think now we're in.
I think here's my credit card.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. Now I'm happy to pay Luke's $400 a month fee.
Yeah, no problem. Right. That's sale.
Yeah.
We got anything else on the feed?
We do, yeah. Yeah, Zach again. We have, let's see here. This will be interesting. This is kind of a long one, so I'll try to make sense of this. Leader Life Fitness. Currently in my 18 months of CrossFit, always have been an athlete and played as high as semi-pro B-ball level. Train a few hours a day, and I'm a trainer, so I have various blocks of time to focus on training and mobility. Goal is to be regional or higher level athlete.
CrossFit,
yep. Redoing my scores on the 2015 Open, sits in the top 80. My engine is great. Gymnastics sit around. Specifics. Let's see here. Specific question is, my Olympic lifting and strength are subpar. 250-pound clean and jerk, 175-pound snatch, 370-pound squat, 445 deadlift, 155 press. If this year's regionals don't happen for my approach, should I take for the upcoming season? I don't understand this question. All strength, weightlifting, and skill work. Mm-hmm. I don't understand this question.
I get it. I'll answer this guy's question.
You got this? Okay.
Does he say how old he is?
He is doesn't say how old. In his 18 months of CrossFit. Let me look at him.
All right, so he's been doing CrossFit for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That guy is too old. I'm just telling you, only 18 months, and he, if you're coming in and you're ready to fucking crush it, you're looking at a 4-year commitment, right? Mm-hmm. And especially with those numbers, strength comes slowly. Like the Olympic lifts are way too low. The power lifts are low as well. If there was a higher power lift, it would show me he has strength, mm-hmm. right?
Built-in base, yeah.
A built-in foundational base of strength. So with that said, he's got to spend 2 years just getting stronger and doing things like sprinting, okay? Fuck the Metcon. It's sexy and it's fun, but that's the easiest part, I think, of CrossFit is the Metcon side of things. So if you have a Metcon motor and a decent engine, which he says he does, mm-hmm. it's never going away. Mm-hmm. But the best way to build strength and power quickly is to drop the Metcon, right? So you stop Metconning and you focus specifically on strength and power, doing sprints in 40 yards, 100-yard dashes, things like that. And you follow a smart program, and you got to show up and do more than yesterday. You get a Dave Spitz for an Olympic coach. Mm-hmm. You want to come down to fucking SoCal and bang weights with us and get, we build strong, powerful athletes. I wouldn't say we're the most technical Olympic lifting coaches because our protocol is, hey, we're lifting a barbell to get you better at not necessarily lifting a barbell, but your ability to move outside of the weight room. Mm-hmm. So we're huge fans of clean pulls and power cleans. But if you're going to be a competitive CrossFitter, you're not getting by on power snatches. Like I'm telling you right now, you got to be a pretty competent Olympic lifter. So that's what I would have this fucking guy do. And then in terms of mobility, listen, let me start off with, I love Kelly. Kelly's a fucking killer dude, and many people need a lot of his work. But the best way we've ever stretched out was with a heavy barbell on our back. Like, you know what I mean? Heavy barbell on your back, overhead, and lots of reps, and moving efficiently, understanding proper movement is going to get you in a very mobile environment. Like, and if you need some of the mobilization stuff as rehab, go for it. But if you walk into a gym, say, I want to be a regionals competitor, and then you say, I got to focus on mobility, you're out. Yeah, that's just like, you're not in the right spot. Like, your program shouldn't be mobility centric. It should be performance centric.
Right. I mean, starts with the goal again, mm-hmm. right? Is your goal to stretch your thoracic spine? No, it's because my snatch sucks balls. And the only way I can possibly snatch more is if my thoracic spine starts to loosen up. The goal is to get that snatch mm-hmm. level up. It's not to get that spine loose.
Now, my message to this guy is, I will gladly be wrong. I'm not one of these guys who's going to say, I told you so. I'm going to say, you fucking proved me wrong, motherfucker. So if you don't think you're too old, fucking do it. Show me wrong. Show me I'm a fucking asshole. I'd gladly be the asshole in this scenario and see a guy at a podium or see a guy at regionals. Yep, right on. But I also would dissuade people from what I would consider unrealistic goals. But this guy needs to spend 2 years just fucking banging weights. And then maybe doing some peppering and some Metcon stuff to keep his technical stuff up. But if that's his bag, go for it.
But I would also say, what's the purpose of the goal? Is that goal just an arbitrary thing? Hey, I want to just be out there to look cool? Or is that goal truly meaningful?
Because regionals athletes slay bitches, dude.
I think so.
Only in SoCal. Only in SoCal.
That must be a customized thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's funny.
Any feedback? I mean, what do you guys think? Am I way off?
No, I agree. I think this is take this for what it is, man. I appreciate you chiming in with the question, of course. I would certainly agree with Luke that you just need to get stronger, like hands down. If you funny story. So occasionally CrossFit HQ will release these little infographics of the performance over the years in the open for back squat maxes and, Fran times and all this stuff.
Yeah. All the metadata,
totally of where you're at. Right. So anyways, this was, I don't know, probably a year ago when I was super duper into competitive CrossFit. And I was totally benchmarking myself against this,
5'8", 180 pounds,
6'2", 220 pounds, a little oversized for this thing. Anyways, so I was looking at this chart and it was Fran time, 2:30 or 3 minutes or something, and snatch 200 pounds and all these different things. I'm just oh yeah, I'm not that far off. All right, we're doing okay. But it turns out this was the females from 2012, and I was fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm done with this. And so I don't know. I mean, the having the goal of improving yourself. Let me rephrase that. Anybody who has a specific goal and they're going to work towards that thing, even if it's like totally unattainable, like I applaud you. Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
And putting yourself with a ridiculously goal of a high chance that it's going to fail, like what we talked about earlier, that's awesome, man. I'm more power to you. But the reality of the situation is CrossFit, competitive CrossFit, especially at the regional and the games level, is too competitive. If you get a late start, you're hard pressed to make that.
It's a concept of gradation. So gradation is essentially the scaling of maximal training response to stimulus. And there's people like the Rich Fronings and the Camille's, and they have been in this game for close to 7 years now, and probably at the elite level, what is it, 5 years? Mm-hmm. Right? 4 years, 5 years, something like that. But those 3 years of just potent exposure to this same training stimulus is what has allowed them to gradiate to a level that cannot be achieved by an amateur, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Like an example of this would be guys who are competing at world-class powerlifting, right? And the programs that they've followed over a decade or so that have allowed them to achieve a strength level. You put those guys back in their infancy, training day 0 on a linear progression, they will accelerate to an adaptation curve and top off at what we refer to as our base level of strength. And strength is just one training response, one physiological type of ability.
On top of that, skill acquisition.
Now, that same window you only do it once. And how you do it sets the path for
the future.
Perpetual. Yeah. Perpetual, whatever, eternity of your training life cycle, right? So the fact that this guy is 18 months old,
18 months old. Yeah.
Okay, I take that back. You have a chance.
18 months old CrossFit life cycle, but at a
training age.
Perhaps a training age, because dude's in great shape. Yeah. Like looks like he's been training, but a training age much far beyond that, it becomes a disadvantage and it flattens out that gradation curve. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So
totally.
Whereas you look at Rich Froning, played baseball. What does that strength and conditioning look like? I've never really met a baseball club that had like a fucking intense training, like a strength and conditioning background. I don't know what his training was like.
It
in
also
high school,
just gets
college.
Into when did you start the sport, because the sport was not the same sport.
Exactly.
Different time.
And the stresses have incrementally increased.
Exactly. Rich's training age has basically grown in parallel to the exact competition level of CrossFit. So, I mean, when Rich won the CrossFit Games the first time, that was a different CrossFit Games than the CrossFit Games today.
Yep.
The athletes are completely different. Their training ages is different. The sport's matured. The athletes are matured. The stakes are higher. It's a different fucking battlefield. Yeah, and you can't suggest that like, hey, I can just jump in and do this thing. You know, something we talk about all the time at Train Heroic is you simply cannot get through the field of fire without acquiring scar tissue. Mm-hmm. And you will never have success without acquiring scar tissue. Like, hey, dude, you know, if you're totally on board to go to the next 3 regionals and you got that timeline, that dedication, that space within your lifestyle to carve that out and fail for the next 3 regionals, and you're not already, you know, on the downslope of your actual training performance from an age perspective, then great. But that's going to happen to you. In today's competition level, you need to fail several times before you're blessed with any level of success. And any games competitor out there, let's look at a Noah Olson, perfect example. Kid's got a motor off the charts. He's actually plenty strong nowadays, you know, clean and jerking 355, I think, somewhere around there at a body weight of maybe like 185, 90 pounds, you know, with great gymnastic skill set. Mm-hmm. He's still got to fail, 2 times, going on his 3rd time. Who knows if it happened this year? He's training, he's great shape. Sure. But you need to fail before that success comes, because there's learnings that happen, if only from an experiential standpoint, that are going to go down.
Yeah, and you know, you look at our favorite CrossFitter, China Cho, same type of deal. I mean, she's been in it since the start and has grown, like, we've seen her growing tremendously. She's on tonight, going to fucking hopefully smash it.
Yeah, all right.
And she's, I forget who she's competing against for 16.
Emily Abbott.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
So we're stoked and we're rooting her on. But yeah, it's a tricky deal. And the regional competition, like with the super regionals and shit, is just getting even more and more dense. Yep. So One way to fucking do it is, dude, move to South America. Those guys have a regional. You fucking move to South America.
Somebody did that.
You're going to smash it. A lot of people, there's a couple dozen people have relocated, got citizenship or some shit, and you're going to smash those South Americans.
That's like Tim Ferriss, like, hacking the system. He won, like, what, like a national championship in Brazil for kickboxing or some stuff. But the rule, he like hacked the rule to where if you push the guy out of the ring more than 3 times, you win by TKO by default. So he learned that, went down there, and now he's like a Muay Thai champion or some bullshit. I don't know. I just think that's funny.
We got anything else? We got time for probably one more.
We do, one more question. This was going to be specific for you. This one is from Zach again, Zach Avanesh. He wants to know about having a blog with membership for most of the articles.
Okay.
And Power Athlete does this. He says, I think people respect the information much more in the day and age where so many things are for free. People don't respect great information like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely considering having a membership site through my blog. What are your thoughts?
I would say get ready for fucking people to call you a sellout and bullshit like that. But this goes back to, I don't know if it was before the podcast, but we talked about, the appreciation of free shit.
Yeah.
It's hard to find somebody who, you give them the shirt off your back for free, who's going to actually like cherish that shirt. And I just happen to be that type of guy where, dude, I got a buddy who fucking met him at the gym when I was working at Balboa, helped him lose, all the coaches there in the program. I'm not taking full credit for it. But we helped him lose a bunch of weight, and he didn't fit into his fucking board shorts, his early board shorts, because that's what you wear when you CrossFit. Okay. And
just so clear, I brought my board shorts on this trip just in case.
Dude, see, I've graduated to the board shorts that are casual.
Nice.
I don't know what you call these, but they're like stretchy, like board shorts. So I'm business and fucking rod. But anyway, so I go, so like a good bro, he's like, hey man, I'm moving. Can you help me move? I go fucking move. And he's pitching all these board shorts. He's like, they're garbage. Trust me. Because they're in the garbage. I'm like, what do you do with those board shorts? He's like, I'm throwing away. They don't fit me. I'm like, what size are they? He's like, I don't know, 36. I'm like, dude, let me get those. Because one, I'm cheap. But he fucking gave me those things, and I was super appreciative, even though it was garbage.
Right.
But how many people are going to, like, care about that shit? So I guess, Zach, going back to the proverbial garbage board shorts, like, that makes it, in my personality type, if I'm going to invest in something, then it's even that much more important to me. You know what I mean? So you're going to get the people who are going to be pissed off about you putting it behind a paywall. And then you're going to have the people who truly respect your message and will gladly pay the $5, $9, and you try to hit a price point that is like enough to be noticeable on a monthly basis, and then but not where you're gonna fucking starve a guy out, So right. I don't know. I'd do it $10 to fucking read some blogs, and then you got to make the user experience solid too, because it all goes back to providing value. The information is valuable, but you got to improve accessibility as well.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just cultivating, I think beyond just the business part of it, what is the life that you want to be living and who do you want to associate yourself with? Mm-hmm. Do you want to associate people with people who truly value you, who are willing to spend a couple bucks to support you? I mean, like, there's nothing better in terms of saying, I believe in this and I value this, than to put your dollars behind it in today's world. That's not an easy thing to do. When people are pulling out their wallets to support you, that says we're part of the same tribe and we're doing the same thing in some way, shape, or form. It makes serving those people easier.
Yeah.
Even if you're running a free blog out there, there's this almost internal sense of obligation to continue to serve it and put content out there.
Right.
If you're serving that to people that don't appreciate it, don't care about it, maybe want to talk shit in your comments or whatever, well, that's what you're going to get. And you're setting yourself up for a life of that. So that's not to say, hey, everybody go do that. You should be putting free content out until people have, shown interest in what you're doing. But once you already have those people will be happy to support you.
Yeah, for sure. I think. Yeah, we have, he probably listens to the podcast, and I'm fucking terrible with some shit with memory. TBI stuff, I'm sure, or maybe too much tequila. Who knows? But he's been giving us 10% of his paycheck, every fucking paycheck. He's just like, man, I love you guys. Changed my life. I totally value your shit, and it's I think it's something associated with this faith. I can't recall anything, but dude's fucking like throwing it in, and like honestly, we're just kind of accruing it and putting it aside, and then we'll probably buy some bitchin' piece of equipment, with it. And it's like, it's totally cool to have to have built that type of audience. Right. So,
how much harder do you guys want to work to serve somebody like that?
Without a doubt. And dude, if he emails with a fucking problem, and I have the people who I know are appreciative and dude, just take my money, here's my money. Well, just give me, I saw you wearing a hat. I want a hat, take my money, or some shit, who want to wear the flag. When those people hit me up, it's it doesn't matter where I am. I'm going to drop what I do and help them out. So, but dude, I think with easy conversation, easy 90 minutes or however long this fucking was. But no, thanks guys. I mean, if you guys want to know more about Train Heroic, here's who, if you're listening and this is you, just check this shit out, right? Do you breathe and lift weights? Go to fucking trainheroic.com.
We have something for you.
Yeah, seriously, because the platform's legit. Our program's on there, which is legit. So just make it happen. And if you're a gym owner and you want to get your clients, deliver your clients programming, allow for tracking, everything, movement demos and shit, dude, the fucking platform's tight. I'm stoked that we went with them. Trainheroic.com, right?
I want to give a quick shout out just to our team back at home in Boulder. Josh, Jay, Matt, Aaron, customer support, Chelsea, and Miss Kayla. You guys are kicking ass back there while we're over here in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Getting sunburned. Yeah. So keep it up. That's where we have the best customer support. That's what I see through social media all the time. And I'm stoked to be part of this company. So let's keep it rocking, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Colby, on that. Thanks, Power Athlete Nation, for tolerating our bullshit and hanging out with us today. And hope to see you guys soon.
So let me ask you a question about Josh. Josh.
Yeah, let's pause.
Josh is what is his deal? Because he's a very tolerant and very nice guy, but you look into those eyes, he might be a psychopath. What's his story? Is he a crazy person?
Has he killed a person? All right, is this on?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Is it?
No, but
Josh is a servant of the world, so all of life's stress comes internal. It's like he has a semi-permeable membrane.
Yeah,
I think is the concept. It comes in, but it can't come out.
So is it like the Green Mile?
And yeah. So it's only a moment before he breaks. I mean, life stress, work stress, whatever, relationships. It's gotta take its toll. So we're waiting.
No, it is in the early days before a lot of the team jumped on. He was like the customer service guy, and I was on the horn with him all the time. And anyone who's dealt with Wellborn knows he's like the biggest assholes just to be an asshole to try and get his way. And it's one of his superpowers. But to see John, totally unfazed. Just, John, absolutely. We're right there. No, I fucking love him, man. He seems like we were talking about.
In the world. You could not have a better partner.
But you played ball with him. I feel like he was the type of guy who just kind of morphed in between whistles. As soon as the ball was kicked off, was he an animal?
Yeah, on top of that, Josh, I don't think I can take credit for this. I think he came up with this concept. But Josh describes himself, and there's no better way to describe him, as just the most durable person in the world.
Yeah.
Just absolute cockroach, can't kill him. When he was sleeping without a bed, he's like, I don't need a bed. He spent a year, I believe, 7th and 8th grade in Korea, living in Korea, and he slept on the floor the whole time there. When he started, living in my laundry room when we were starting the company, sleeping on the floor again, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? That's awful. If nothing else, you're a health junkie and you should take care of your back and stuff. He's like, it's great. It's I got a soft body. Why do I need a soft bed?
Yeah.
And it's that's the type of guy he is. He doesn't believe he needs anything. And because of that, he has such a strong mind, such a strong care for people that, it truly just makes life more enjoyable to be around folks like that. It makes it more fun to work with them like that. And, if you're going to take on big, heady challenges, the same thing that we continually sign ourselves up to do. There's no way else to.
You want that guy on your team?
Yeah, for sure. No, since I met him, clearly unstoppable warrior, dude. I was just curious what's going on between the ears there.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, I love you. It's not an insult, brother. Yes. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Good show. We'll talk to you guys later.
Right on.
Now it's time for you to empower your performance. Discover what all the fuss is about and head to www.trainheroic.com. There you'll find numerous training systems, teams, and coaching opportunities to meet your needs. Not least of which, of course, is yours truly, Power Athletes Field Strong, Grindstone, The Basics, and Jack Street systems. Until next time, bye!